This is Canada. It's one of the most well-developed countries in the world. Despite this, it has been its worst decade for national income, which is only a minor sign of the Canadian economy's unexpected decline. So how exactly did Canada become so well-developed, and why is it all going down from here? You may think the housing crisis is the main reason, however, it goes so much deeper than that. To understand what truly went wrong in Canada, we must first discover how Canada got to where it is today economically. Canada has long been a successful country due to its diverse population, natural resources, and many business prospects. To dumb that down, the mining of natural resources like gold and copper was a huge part of their economical growth, and on top of that, they even have many oil businesses that were actually a huge factor in their fast growth. With their economical growth came population growth because people saw it as a place to build a stable life. But there was also a huge downside. Since Canada heavily relies on foreign countries for certain items such as phones, computers, and even cars, the businesses are way more vulnerable to a recession. On top of that, in recent years, there have been concerns about how slow the middle class salary has been rising, which we will be discussing later in this video. Although Canadians are known for their kindness and peaceful attitude, it's come to a point where the whole country's inhabitants have become angry with the current situation. But why exactly are all of them so angry? Several reasons have led to Canadians' rising anger. One of the major reasons being the increased cost of life. On top of that, housing costs as a whole have grown out of reach for many, especially younger people. To prove this, a 2022 poll showed that 81% of young people were annoyed or furious about the housing market, with almost half of them feeling anger at an extreme level. Housing aside, inflation has also taken a huge bite out of pockets, pinching family budgets and raising concerns over daily spending. The finger of blame in this situation is usually pointed at the government, both federal and local. In fact, you would be surprised to hear that 2024 has shown the highest amounts of unhappiness against the government in 6 years. This is because citizens think that those in power haven't done enough to solve financial problems. Unfortunately, there's no quick answer at all. While several government efforts try to fight home pricing, the effect has yet to be seen at all. Interest rates that were initially meant to fight inflation have caused another layer of stress for many Canadians dealing with mortgages and debt. The rage isn't really standard, and Canadians remain tough people. However, ignoring issues such as a proper sense of government contribute to more than just unhappy residents. It leads to the downfall of a whole entire country. So what is the first problem that started this all? You see, Canada uses a national healthcare system, commonly referred to as Medicare. This system, based on the ideas of public finance and accessibility, ensures that all people receive support for medically important treatments. While the level of care is usually good, Canadians have been starting to deal with long wait times for medical attention. Imagine a situation where a patient needs knee surgery. While Medicare would fund the surgery itself, the wait for a visit with a physician may continue for months upon months. This delay may cause substantial pain and permanently affect someone's health. Essentially, you have two choices. You pay super high fees for private healthcare with little to no wait time, or you pay nothing and wait months. Because of this issue, the Canadian government is constantly exploring ways to improve the wait times. Initiatives include increasing healthcare spending, improving recommendation systems, and studying new technologies such as telemedicine, which is basically a fancier way to say an appointment over a video call. However, the situation remains super difficult, and you can't really blame them, with factors including an aged population and a shortage of medical experts adding to the pile. While Canada and the US have many many cultural and economic similarities, their healthcare systems vary greatly. Canada's uniform, publicly funded Medicare program gives treatment for all people, paid for via tax funds. In comparison, the US has a multi-payer system controlled by private insurances, with big gaps in coverage and greater costs. Canada's healthcare model has resulted in more equal access with fewer out-of-pocket costs for patients. However, it has faced the greater wait times we mentioned earlier. The US system, on the other hand, gives greater choice and faster access but leaves millions uncovered, resulting in higher overhead costs. Supporters of the Canadian way believe it provides universal care as a basic right, while critics say it leads to limiting and waste. But supporters of the US model praise its innovation and customer choice, but accepts its high costs and uneven supply. Ultimately, both methods have problems in combining cost, quality, and accessibility. As Canada navigates wait time problems, the US grapples with growing service and cutting spending. But this is just the tip of the iceberg, because the healthcare problem is the least of Canada's concerns. Even the job market is at a point where it's ruining the lives of highly knowledgeable people with a lot of potential. While Canada's immigration rules seek to hire people to enhance the nation's workforce, many qualified newcomers face huge hurdles in successfully blending into the Canadian job market. Despite their schooling and expertise that they may have, skilled newcomers frequently face the major obstacles that prevent them from fully maximizing their strengths and adding to the economy. Employers usually prefer Canadian experience, a condition that may be especially restrictive for these newcomers. Envision a situation where a new foreigner with a degree in engineering fails to find a job in their field despite having the necessary skills and certifications. The lack of Canadian experience on their resume becomes a major roadblock, forcing them to take lower skilled employment or possibly quit their field completely, all because they didn't have Canadian experience. This not only produces a feeling of hopelessness, but also marks a missed opportunity for Canada to fully benefit from the different skill sets. To make the situation even worse, the wages have been declining heavily. While Canada offers an excellent quality of life, pay growth hasn't kept pace with the growing cost of living, especially in big towns. This, along with the difficulty of getting suitable work, may be extremely stressful for foreigners and established Canadians alike. Many gifted people, especially those in high-demand industries, may be attached to the US job market, which is thought to provide greater possibilities and better pay on top of that. To specifically meet the needs of the job market, a fully new method is important. For starters, key features should include a way around the Canadian experience roadblock, as it only makes the hiring process a hassle on both ends. Perhaps jobs can even offer a special training to newcomers with no Canadian experience. With this approach, they can make good use of talented people while also training them properly when needed, even if it isn't necessarily fully work-related. Additionally, creating a more open and welcoming work environment that celebrates the different skill sets immigrants bring will greatly benefit the Canadian workforce. Now, imagine a place that offers such benefits. Their workforce as a whole would skyrocket, resulting in the economy to at least have a little boost in the right direction, which is better than nothing. Job market aside, as we look towards the future, it's clear that many Canadians may be facing an ever more difficult challenge, which is surprising, because what could be more difficult than not having a job? You see, there has been a significant increase in the cost of living that has been taking over their pay growth. This could leave many feeling squeezed and struggling to afford even basic necessities, let alone achieve their goals of financial stability and securing a home later in life. It's a tough situation to be in, and my heart goes out to those who may have been impacted. Nowadays, a grocery run is no longer a daily event for these people. It's a carefully planned financial practice. Food costs have grown regularly, pushing Canadians to cut down on either quality or quantity. Take a look at this Reddit user I came across who explained that food prices in his town were insane compared to his former home in London. What's shocking to me is that even the flour has been costing them an extra $10 than what they usually pay. Imagine all the other necessities for those that have several kids. The pain spreads beyond the kitchen though. Filling up the gas tank hurts more than ever, with transportation costs greatly affecting family funds. Utilities as a whole are also seeing price spikes, adding another layer of suffering. While minimum wage hikes have been accepted, they haven't kept pace with inflation whatsoever. This means that Canadians working full-time at the minimum wage are barely even making ends meet. The gap between rising costs and flat wages pushes many to make painful choices. Basics like food and rent take priority, putting other basics like healthcare or childcare out of reach. With this being said, tax obviously becomes an issue. So let's compare Canada's and the US tax system and see how they differ. The Canadian tax system, with its progressive framework and different tax rates, has a more clear impact on spending income compared to the US. While the progressive form of the system tries to ensure people with better pay give a bigger amount, it also means a substantial part of earnings is directed towards taxes. This leaves Canadians with less disposable income for everyday spending and long-term investing. In comparison, the US tax system, while likewise progressive, tends to have a significant smaller total tax load, especially for middle-income people. This helps American families to keep a bigger portion of their income for personal spending and business reasons. The idea of working more hours or wanting extra merely to maintain a basic standard of living is less prominent in the US compared to the Canadian experience, where the tax system may greatly reduce the take-home pay of higher income people and families. The different methods of taxes between the two North American neighbors show the trade-offs between equality and economic benefits, with Canada preferring a more redistributive tax system. On the bright side, subscribing to this channel is completely free, so you might as well go ahead and do it. But if you think the cost of living situation is bad, we haven't even gotten to the worst part yet. I'm sure you've read about how bad the housing market has been in several countries. However, the housing market in Canada has been having the most trouble out of all. So much trouble that it makes it hard for individuals to even think about buying a home within the next decade. Similarly to the United States, the difficulties are the same, but the facts and the solutions are completely different. Let's explore the two countries' housing difficulties that are alike as well as the ones that are different. In Canada, the quick price developments of houses resulted in most of the people not being able to afford a home anymore, as I just mentioned. Housing market specialists say the average house price in Canada will soon be at $729,700, which is a high increase of 38% just over the last 5 years. Even American home markets have not witnessed that kind of price increase. The average house price in the US at the moment is around $450,000, which represents an increase of about 24% in 5 years. On top of that, Canadians pay as much as 56% more than 10 years ago for a house as compared to a 15% salary differential. In the US, housing is not as problematic because house prices have increased by 23% from the beginning of COVID-19, while wages have risen by 18% on average. Yet, unluckily for a great number of people, the war of houses is fought more and more severely every single day. When the price tag mounts and income remains compact, the thought of home ownership begins to crumble in the lives of numerous Canadian people. To prove this, a recent survey pointed to the fact that more than 80% of Canadians aged between 18 and 28 from cities have a concern that they may not be able to afford to buy a house in the near future. This trend is a long-time fear of the coming youth who want to enter the housing market. Living choices in Canada are also fairly flexible, so as you know, the province and city you are in adds fuel to the fire. While the numbers never lie, it is Ontario that has been hit the hardest. Currently, the average house value in Toronto has soared up to a sum of more than $1.2 million, which makes this area one of the most expensive places in the world. Completely contrary to that, Montreal is a better option, having house prices around $600,000, unlike Vancouver's high average house price of $2 million. As expected, the US residential properties also have the same space-based inequalities. Those towns lying on the coast, like San Francisco and New York, are in a leading position as the most expensive, with average property prices over $1.2 million and $900,000. Yet the Midwest and the South regions, where one can find the most attractive low-cost houses, are more numerous, whereas the average house price is between $300,000 and $400,000. Setting the housing issue in Canada and the US needs an all-inclusive and mixed-up approach. Creating houses by using available space for building projects, shortening the timeline for approval of plans, and increasing urban density are in fact the best possible resolutions to our housing-related problems. Furthermore, in terms of redistributing opportunity and increasing access to the low cost of living for low and middle income families, improvement is vastly important. Canada and the USA provide us with an unsolved question. Why exactly are immigrants still moving to Canada if the situation is so bad? Well, let's dig into that. Immigration works as a biological lifeline for Canada's older population. Newcomers fill critical labor gaps, especially in skilled trades and specialized businesses. This not only boosts economic output, but also encourages creativity and business. Additionally, immigrants usually come with a strong work ethic and willingness to take on challenging jobs, further driving economic growth. However, this growth comes with increasing pains. The number of arrivals may worsen current housing gaps, drive prices higher, and making it tougher for everyone, especially young Canadians, to obtain reasonable living. Furthermore, rising demand for social services like healthcare and schooling may put a strain on already existing difficulties. Immigration's long-term success depends on good blending methods. Immigrants with good language skills and known titles are more likely to find high-paying jobs, adding more to tax income and the social safety net. Investing in language teaching, skills development, and programs that bridge cultural hurdles may greatly boost integration and ensure that newcomers achieve their full economic potential. Canada cannot afford to lose important newcomers due to early challenges or feelings of isolation. Streamlining the procedure for accepting foreign qualifications, creating training programs, and encouraging social participation are vital to keeping bright immigrants and improving their long-term economic contribution. In the end, Canada's high immigration rate offers both rewards and problems. By accepting the potential economic benefits while actively solving housing limits and blending newcomers successfully, Canada can promise that immigration will remain a factor in long-term economic growth. So clearly, Canada is going through their issues. So how long exactly would it take for them to get back on their feet, and is it even possible? For starters, signs of a healthy economy include low unemployment, steady growth of inflation, and an increase of construction on new homes. To start reaching these goals, Canada firsthand needs to open more job opportunities and make it attainable for everyone, including the immigrants. If the job market isn't struggling, it's very likely all other aspects of their economy would also improve. Nonetheless, it's super unfortunate to see what Canada has come to economically, but only time will tell how long this recovery will take.